Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to go ahead and go through the books that I read October through December of last year. And I know I threw in an extra book. I think I threw in Main Characters by Hannah Orenstein. I was supposed to read it in September, but I ended up reading it in December, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I just don't feel like grabbing it off my shelf right now, but I did give that one a 3.5 stars. So yeah. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the books that I read in October. So the first one that I read in October was The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This is actually the very first book that I have picked up by him. Yes, the very first book that I picked up by him. I always get Final Girls and Final Girl Support Group by him and Grady Hendrix mixed up. But this is the first one I picked up by Riley Sager. I actually really enjoyed this one. I gave it a 4 stars when I read it, and I don't think I used the audiobook for this one. No, I didn't use the audiobook for this one, so I actually read it. So I gave it a 4 stars. It was very interesting, and I didn't expect the story to go where it went, but it was very good. And then I read My Dark Romeo by Parker S. Huntington and L.J. Shen. If you recall, in 2024, I think December of 2024, I tried to read Promises and Pomegranates. I forget who that one's by, but that was a dark romance, and I just didn't vibe with it, didn't like it. So I actually ended up DNFing that. So this was my second shot at dark romance to see if I liked it, if I could get into it. And this one was actually very good. I gave this one a 4 stars. I did like the story of this one. And I think there were less issues that I had with this one than there were with Promises and Pomegranates. But I did like this one, and I did end up getting the second one to this, My Dark Desire, for Christmas actually. So I'm excited to maybe get into that one in 2026. And then the last book I read in October, I also gave a 4 stars. This is Dearest by Jackie Walters. I always say Jacqueline, it's Jackie. And this one was actually also pretty good. Very twisty, very turny. Didn't expect anything that was in this book to happen at all that had happened, but I did end up liking this one a lot. And I did use audio for both My Dark Romeo and Dearest. I did do the audiobooks for those as well. And then going into November, I read Middle of the Night by Riley Sager, so my second book by him. And I also used the audiobook for this one, which I think helped tremendously with this one, because I think if I hadn't used the audiobook, I would have gotten bored with it and not wanted to read it anymore. But I did enjoy this one. I gave it a 4 stars. And again, I didn't see the twist coming at the end. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. And then I read The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which I also gave this one a 4 stars. I think I've started to get into dark academia this past year. And I know this year, 2026, is pretty heavy on the dark academia, so I'm excited about that because I do quite enjoy that genre. And I did very much enjoy this one and the kind of mystery that's going on. It's not really a mystery because you're following them leading up to this event that happens that they go into at the beginning of the book. In the first couple of paragraphs, there's an accident that they describe, and then you kind of follow from where it all started to how they got to that point, and then the aftermath of what happened afterwards, which I thought was really cool, and I really enjoyed it. And then the last book I read in November was First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. I gave this one a 4.25 when I originally read it and put it on my fable, but I think I might have to bump it down to a 3.5, 3.75, just because the more I think about it, the more I'm I don't think I actually liked it that much. I think it was because I was using the audiobook while reading it, that's why I liked it so much, but I don't think that I actually really did like it that much. But it was still good. I still didn't see the plot twist coming at the end, but yeah. And then finally in December, I read Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I gave this a 4.5 stars. I think December is the highest rated month out of these 3 months, so this was a 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this. I loved that they were in the middle of nowhere in Scotland. I think it was Scotland. somewhere in Europe. I think it was Scotland. They were in the middle of nowhere in Scotland in this church that's like kind of abandoned, kind of not abandoned. And it was just very good. I really enjoyed this. I can't say too much about it because it will give it away as to what this abandoned church was and why they were there. But this was very good. I did not see the twists coming at all in this one. I know I've said that about all of these, but this was so good. I really enjoyed this one. And then I read Carrie Soto's Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think this is one of my highest rated ones by her. Otherwise, it's Malibu Rising, but I think I gave Malibu Rising a 4.25. I gave this one a 4.5. I absolutely loved her story. I loved Carrie Soto's story and what she went through and her trying to get her world record back, and then her, I can't really say it because it's going to spoil it, but just her kind of coming to terms with certain things about her world record and about herself and about her world revolving around tennis. But so I did really enjoy this one. And yeah. And then the very last book I read in December is Scythe by Neil Schusterman. I think I said that right. I very much enjoyed this one. I gave it a 4.75 stars. I could not put this down. I loved learning about the scythes. I loved learning about their gleanings and their process to it and everything like that. I really enjoyed this. And I'm excited to hopefully maybe continue the series in the new year, in the 2026. Okay, so in my July to September wrap up, there was one book that I mentioned, Main Characters by Hannah Orenstein, that I wanted to get to, but I didn't get to. So I ended up pulling it over to December, and I read it at the beginning of December after I read Rock, Paper, Scissors. And I ended up using the audiobook for this one as well, and I gave it a 3.5 stars. I did like it. However, I found myself more liking the plot of these two sisters coming together and finally meeting each other and trying to connect with each other while also trying to work through the grief of losing their father, which that's not a spoiler, it's on the back. But I found that I liked that plot more than I liked the side plots of the sisters' lives and what they're going through on the side when they're not with each other than I did the main plot, which is them coming together and connecting. I think their side stories just kind of fell flat for me, but either way, I did give it a 3.5 stars. I did like it. I just, however, not really sure if it's going to stay at a 3.5 or if I might just bump it to a 3. But yeah. And I don't know if I ever mentioned it in any video, but I did end up finishing, I was rereading The Summer I Turned Pretty, the first book to that trilogy. I did end up finishing that one in like October, November, and I think I gave it like a 4 star. I think that's what I put it as a 4 star. Very good. I love the Summer I Turned Pretty series. It was one of the first trilogies that I read when I was getting back into reading in high school. So it was I'm still glad that it was still a hit for me and not a miss. Like I know sometimes it can be when people go back and reread books. But yeah, those were all of the books that I read from October to December of 2025 and my thoughts on them. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.